Hello everyone. So we are here in another unit of basic design. It's a very important unit. It's elements and principles of design. So let's go to the subject. So, so, yeah. So in one line, we need to understand what is the building block of any visual composition. So let's say I say very technical terms like elements of design, principles of design, building blocks of visual composition. You may think it looks here's very foreign to you, but in reality, any design subject or in any product design, graphic design, any design, you need to understand how a person perceives something visual in nature. So let's say I'm going to give you an invitation card. The moment I hand over the invitation card, you automatically, your eyes go through certain things. It could be a different font, it could be a photograph, or it could be the name of the bride and groom, anything. So, how does your eye directly goes and sits on top of that? What made that do is basically, if you want to understand that, we need to understand what are the elements and principles of design. It's very important and it is very um, it's very like a primary thing for a primary thing. Anyone who studies principles of design is going to gain the user interest, whatever user design, UX design, UI design, any design for that matter, is going to help in most of the designing categories. So yeah, what are elements and principles of design? We cannot actually combine elements and principles of designs together, but we can say that both of them becomes the fundamental component or the building block. So it's the basic of any kind of design or art. For you to create anything, you need to understand this basics. This is like the ABCD of design. Okay. So let's say in one line, elements are the fundamental blocks and principles are the guidelines on about how you can use the elements. Okay. So let's say an example. You can say that egg, flour, eggs. All those things are elements. Okay. I have a kg of maida. I have a kg of any vegetable or whatever it is. But what is the recipe that you make out of it to make a delicious or an yummy food? Okay. What is that process that you go through, which made it into an yummy or delicious recipe? Okay, that is your principles. So elements are basically it is there. Without elements, the principles cannot act. But elements are the basics, and you have the process that guides the recipe. Okay, that is what is called as the principles of design. Now let's have a little overview of what do I say by elements of design. Okay, these are like an ABCD of design. So you have the basics to be point, line, shape, form, texture, color, value, and space. Now, point, everybody knows point, line, shape, and all is fine. So, what do you mean by this is the elements, right? So, how are you going to connect these things and what is the importance of these elements? We're going to learn one by one, starting from point. Okay, let's say, for example, you have a world map in your room. Okay, yes, it's a world map. I have too many informations in a world, world map. Now, what I'm going to do, take a pen and point it directly to Canada. I placed a pen on top of Canada. Automatically, your eyes are going to go to Canada only. Or anyone who enters that room, they're going to see Canada. Because there's only one point there, right? Although it's a vast map, okay, because of this one single point, I can automatically draw your attention towards a particular portion. Am I right? Now, for example, I've given you an example at the bottom. So there is a moon in the entire sky. Although the sky is so big and vast, If there is a moon, my eyes directly go and see the moon. Maybe after a few seconds, I'll go and see, there are so many stars over here, the star is blinking, and all those things. Again, stars are also points. Okay, but moon is a bigger point. So my eyes first go to the bigger moon, like focal point. Okay, now dot do not have dimension. Okay, it is not one dimension, two dimension, three dimension, no dimensions at all. I cannot say the measurement of a dot at all. But the dots can be smaller or bigger. That example is what I said, moon. Moon is a bigger dot and the other stars are smaller dots. Okay. Now, wherever I want to get the attention, I can always put a dot. Now, I want to get attention in many areas. I like sports, arts, this, that, everything. In that case, if you're diluting the design, if you're going to put too many dots, the design is going to get diluted. Okay? It's like you're not concentrating certain things, it becomes a normal element everywhere. Okay, so whatever thing that you want to make it like the focal point, that becomes a point. Okay, now it is dimensionless, it can vary in size and value. When I say value, it is the lightness or darkness of the dot. Okay, and it can act like a focal point. Now let's say I'm going to put one dot over here. You can see this example. These are one dots. Now I can see two dots. If you see these two dots, it automatically gives us a meaning that there is a line. Am I right or not? Now I have three dots in third picture. Because of the three dots, the position of three dots, it is not giving me focal point, but these three points automatically give me a shape. This looks like a shape, right? It's like a triangle. It's not proper triangle, but it is giving me the look of a triangle. Now see here. I have multiple dots together. It shows that it is a curvilinear line. Now my eyes don't perceive that as a dot at all. It looks like a curvilinear line. Now over here, I can see too many dots. My concentration is going on everywhere, right? So I'm making it very flat for the user to see. Okay, so with one single thing called point, there are multiple meanings we will be able to convey within a design. Okay, now moving on to the next one. And line. Line very simple. Yes, you know whatever line you know earlier, the same line only. And we have straight lines, curved lines, horizontal line, diagonal lines, zigzag lines, wavy lines, curvilinear lines, implied lines. You have multiple lines and every line are the same. Okay, every line comes under this topic, lines only. Now, I said dot is a dimensionless one, but here in line, how many dimensions can we see? Now there is a vertical line. I can say one dimension, horizontal line, again one dimension, diagonal line, one dimension, wavy line. I can say there is a wavy line of 5 centimeter length, 50 centimeter length. Okay, only length is there. Okay, so it is a single dimensional entity, is what a line is. Line has a very specific purpose, and I say, when I say focal point, it was point wherever my eyes has to go. One point, okay, I'm able to see it. But lines can convey direction. In what portion your eyes has to see, the line can be able to do. Now look at this picture. All the lines of different nature, I have vertical line, horizontal line, diagonal lines. Every lines are taking me to that center point. Center is not highlighted. I didn't put any sketch. I didn't put one dot over there. But automatically, because of the positioning of the lines, because of how it is located, you're able to, your eyes are directly going to the center of that particular image. Okay, so lines convey direction. Okay, now I also have a line. It's curvilinear in nature over here. This conveys movement. Am I right? I have a feel that it's like a water, wavy water, or air that comes like that. So lines can also show movement. right? Use the zigzag lines will give you movement. You can even sense like sound is there or something like that. Okay, so anywhere that you want to highlight, use line. Anywhere that you want to like give a direction for the user's eye movement, give the lines. Now, this example you would have already seen anywhere. Like, let's say I have a short person, I need to tell them whether the vertical lined dress is suitable for them or the horizontal line dresses, stripes dresses suitable for them. So if they are short, I'll automatically go for vertical lines. Why? Because we already know the lines is going to be this vertical direction. That is going to enhance the height of that particular person. No, there's one person who's very lean. Now I'm going to suggest them horizontal stripes. Automatically, eye movement is from left to right. So it is automatically giving a fatter look or little wider look, something like that. Now, you have a road. On the road, you can see white lines. White lines automatically tells you the flow of movement. Okay, so the line basically has two characters, one direction, the other one is movement. It also can implement little bit of emotion. The vertical line suggests strength, while the curvilinear lines or curved lines gives you fluidity and a gracefulness. Okay, next one. Now I have multiple lines together. Let's say this is a triangle. You can see a triangle here. So I have three lines which connects together. When it connects together, it becomes triangle. Am I right? No. I have six lines over here, which gives me a hexagon. This is a hexagon. I have one single line which gives me a circle. Here I have one line and one curved line which gives me a semicircle. So what you actually have to understand here is that the closed line, any line which is closed, it becomes a shape. Okay. Now dot is dimensionless, line is with single dimension. Now I have a shape with multiple dimensions, but it is two-dimensional in character. Why do I say two-dimension? But I have triangle, it has three dimension. You may ask, right? When the third dimension is usually refers to the height, but in any of the shape, we cannot see height at all. Okay. Whenever shape gets height, it becomes a form. Okay. So here it is refers to a two-dimensional area. So now shape is actually divided into two types. One is geometric shape, the other one is organic shape. Okay, usually when I say organic shape, people think that anything that is curvilinear is called as organic shape, but that is wrong. Okay, organic shapes are usually found in nature, like shape of a leaf, shape of a flower, anything in nature. If you see it is organic in nature, tree, whatever. But if you see geometric, you can see circle comes under geometric shape. Okay, apart from square, rectangle, triangle, you also have circle here in geometric shapes. Okay, with this, the actual difference between a geometric shape and organic shape is that anything that you can find it through a single formula, we call that as geometric shape. So circle, although it is curvilinear, or semicircle, although it is curvilinear, it comes under geometric shapes because I have a formula with which I can understand its area. Now, let's say I have a papaya leaf in front of me. What is the formula that's going to give me the answer or area of the papaya leaf? I cannot find it. Although you have multiple ways to find it, there's no direct formula to find the area of that one. So that becomes a natural form or organic forms. Okay, so that's the difference. You have geometric forms which are rigid and the ones with which you can understand what is the dimension of it, area of it. The other one is organic in nature, which means it is present in nature. So that is there. Now, uh, so any shape has its own, when used properly, it can give different meaning. We cannot say directly that it gives movement, it gives emotion. Those things we cannot actually say directly in shape. Each shape has its own characteristics, and each shape denotes something else. So we cannot actually say that it, we cannot say these are the characters. We cannot actually restrict it. But let's say there is a small hexagon and there's a big hexagon over here. Okay, this itself is going to give a different meaning now, right? If I want my eyes to come towards the small hexagon, but there's a big hexagon over here, how do I do it? Do you understand? So you have size also matters and shape can also differ. Shape, let's through few examples we can understand. Now let's say I have a triangle over here. Okay, this triangle points me towards up. Whenever we use triangle, it takes you upwards. So triangle can give you direction. But when I say I have a circle, the circle will not give you direction, but it gives me stability, or square gives us stability. So each shape has its own meaning that we can actually use it. So let's say I have hexagon. Hexagon basically means there are many options for me, something like that. So you have to understand few things and then only we can implement in terms of shape. Okay, now let's go to the scale. So the example I gave you, smaller hexagon is a bigger hexagon that's there. Automatically my eye comes to the bigger hexagon. Why? Because the size of the hexagon is small here and it is bigger over here. So automatically scale becomes one of the elements. Although it is the same size, the scale will automatically, differentiate the difference between these two. The viewer's eye directly goes to the something that is top image. Now let's say I have the same small hexagon, big hexagon, but this big hexagon is only black line on a white sheet. This small hexagon is dark red in color. Okay, you can directly take the viewer's attention here. Color is also one of the elements of design. Now, when I see a newspaper, so let's say usually the front page has the most important news. And as we open the newspaper, you can see many news over there. But few of the news article has a bigger title, which basically means come see me first and then the rest of the article because this is important. The importance of where you need to, where the viewer's eye has to travel. That's given by scale. Color. I told you the previous example, right? Even though scale is different, with the color, you can actually get a difference, right? Color also has something called as mood and perception. Okay, red gives you boldness, white gives you calmness, peacefulness. That's why they say, um, you know, white flag was shown to stop the war or something like that. Right, so each color actually gives like yellow, bright in nature. So it's like for the bright people. And they say that McDonald's, KFC, everywhere the red color is being used because psychologically it gives you more appetite, it seems. So each color, although it's not physical, but it has its own emotional and psychological value associated with it. Texture. Texture is one important quality actually, and it can be there are two types. One is tactile, and the other one is visual. Tactile is something which you can feel and see, and visual is something only in the visual it will be there. If I feel it, it's a flat, smooth one. That's the difference. And here you can see the examples. Okay, most of it are taken from a living room, and you can see here it is a smooth textured one. Here it is rough and big kind of textured one. Here it entirely looks like something else is being used here, like some other texture, some other material is getting used here. Here you can see kind of you know corrugated kind of texture. So each texture also changes the mood. Space is actually we cannot say, let's say, I have a plot, a land or something like that. I cannot take that land and say it is a space. So say space is two dimension, it could be three dimension, it could be within a component. Any space is very controversial in nature, okay? So let's say I have three um, three circles here in a composition. Okay. Although I didn't create anything. The space inside is also called as a space. Okay. Usually that is called negative space, and this shape is called as positive shape. So you cannot actually say this is that, that is this. No. With any area that is around or between or within, it could be the same, it could be around it, it could be within a space enclosed, anything can be called as the space. So let's say you have a sheet of paper, I'm asking you to compose it with multiple squares or something like that. If it is entirely squares, it will not give me a breathing space, right? So some empty spaces here and there, that gives kind of meaning to it. Okay. So that is called as space. Okay. For example, here in a well-organized room, an empty space between furniture is make the area feel more spacious and less cluttered. Okay, that is again space. Here you can see a little bit of definition here. Now, if you see this image, you can see that there's a black and polar bear, and there's a white polar bear. So here, I you can consider anything. This white could be negative space, or the black could be the negative space. Could be anything. Okay, so so because of the contrast here, okay, one conveys something, the other one conveys the other thing. If you see these two examples, here, yes, there is a shape that is a positive space, yes. But if you see here, there is like there's a cutout in the sheet, and the space into that enclosed space is called as the negative space. Okay, so these are space. So all these are two-dimensional in nature. Okay, till here, whatever we saw, like from the shape, color, texture, space, all these are two-dimensional in nature. Now you're coming to the third dimension, that is height, where the height is involved. Okay. And let's say you have a square and the height comes, it can become a cube, or it can even become a cuboid, or it can even become a square pyramid. Let's say you have a circle, it can become a cone, it can become a cylinder, or it can even become a sphere in nature. So wherever the height is involved, that evolved form, that is called as a form. Evolved portion is called as a form. So the form gives depth and realism to a composition. Okay. So in a two-dimensional paper, you can give a form in terms of shading and light and giving perspective. That way, you can actually have form to it. Okay. Uh, so everyday example, you have sculptures in parks, monuments use forms to create physical presence and emotional impact. So each of the form again has varied thing. For example, if I have a cube that is more static in nature, if I have a sphere which gives me a sense of going here and there, moving here and there, and things like that. So next comes the principles of design that we'll be seeing in the next video. Thank you.